What if I told you that your mind can heal your body, even when the medicine you took had no active ingredients? What if belief alone could lower pain, fight disease, improve sleep, ease depression, boost immunity, and even change your biology? We're not talking about magic. We're not talking about wishful thinking. We're talking about one of the most mysterious and scientifically documented phenomena in all of modern medicine, the placebo effect. For decades, doctors treated the placebo as a nuisance, an annoying variable to control for in studies. But as research grew, something astonishing happened. The placebo wasn't just noise. It wasn't an illusion. It was evidence that the mind and body are deeply connected in ways that science is only beginning to understand. Patients given fake pills healed. People told their pain would decrease, actually felt less pain. Individuals who believed they were receiving surgery experienced the same results as those who underwent the real procedure. And in some cases, placebos triggered measurable biological changes, hormones, neurotransmitters, immune responses. In other words, the body responded as if the treatment was real. So what does that mean for you? It means your beliefs shape your biology. Your expectations shape your experience. Your mind is not just a passenger in your life. It's a driver. The placebo effect, proof of the mind-body connection. In this video, we're diving the history, science, mysteries, and practical applications of this profound phenomenon, and how you can use the power of your mind to transform your health, your emotions, and your life. Welcome to Self-Unlocked. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand the inner workings of your mind, but also gain practical insights on how to harness your brain's hidden potential, from enhancing memory, mastering focus, and regulating emotions, to tapping into the flow state where your mind and body perform at their peak. Belief is one of the most misunderstood forces in human experience. We often think of belief as something soft, an idea, a hope, a psychological preference. But what if belief is not just a mental construct? What if belief is a biological signal, a command that shapes your physiology, your hormones, your perception of pain, and even the way your brain fires? The placebo effect reveals that belief may be one of the most powerful and mysterious forces within the human mind. It is invisible yet measurable, intangible yet capable of producing chemical reactions. And the deeper we look into the science of placebos, the clearer it becomes that belief is not a passive thought. It is an active biological process. Let's explore this mystery from the ground up. Belief as a biological instruction. When someone takes a pill, even one with no active ingredients, the moment the pill hits the tongue, something extraordinary begins to happen. Before the pill reaches the stomach, before the body digests anything, before any chemical can interact with your bloodstream, the brain has already reacted. Why? Because the brain is not waiting for the substance to do something. The brain responds to the meaning of the experience. If you believe the pill will relieve your headache, your brain interprets this expectation as a signal. And in response, it begins releasing specific molecules. Endorphins that reduce pain, dopamine that elevates mood, serotonin that increases emotional balance, and even GABA that calms the nervous system. Expectation, interpretation, biological response. It happens automatically, instantly, subconsciously. This is the core mystery. Belief is not just psychological, it is physiological. The brain's predictive nature, the blueprint of expectation. One of the most important insights from modern neuroscience is this. The brain does not simply respond to the world, it predicts the world. Your brain constantly makes predictions about what will happen next based on past experiences, sensory information, and belief systems. This predictive coding system determines how you perceive pain, how you interpret sensations, and how your body prepares for future events. Here's the part that shocks researchers. When the brain predicts relief, it often creates the same physiological changes that real medication would produce. Not similar, not symbolic, not imaginary, the same. The brain's prediction becomes the body's internal reality. For example, if you believe a cream will reduce your pain, the brain releases endorphins. If you believe a pill will improve your mood, serotonin pathways activate. If you believe you received a treatment for nausea, gastrointestinal activity changes. Belief is not a suggestion. Belief is an instruction, a biological order. Where does belief come from? To understand the mystery, we must explore the origins of belief. Belief is shaped by past experiences. If you've taken medicine before and experienced relief, your brain forms a strong association. Pill equals healing. Even a fake pill triggers this neurological memory. Cultural and social conditioning. If society teaches that doctors, rituals, or certain treatments bring healing, the brain adopts those narratives as biological expectations. Authority and trust. The belief that a doctor, healer, or system knows what they're doing dramatically amplifies the placebo effect. The stronger the trust, the stronger the biological response. Symbols and rituals. White coats, hospital rooms, capsules, pills, medical devices. These symbols have power because they trigger subconscious expectations of healing. Emotion and meaning. Your emotional state determines how strongly a belief manifests physically. Hope, trust, optimism, and safety boost healing responses. Fear, doubt, and stress weaken them. Belief is not random. It is constructed by your entire life story. The hidden mechanisms of perception and expectation. Imagine two people experiencing the same level of pain, but one believes it will get better and the other believes it will get worse. Their biological reactions will be completely different. In the hopeful person, the brain reduces pain signals, increases endorphins, and calms the nervous system. In the fearful person, the opposite happens. Stress rises, inflammation increases, and pain intensifies. Nothing in their external situation changed. Only their belief changed, and yet their biology changed accordingly. This is the mystery of belief. The mind interprets reality, and the body follows that interpretation as if it were fact. Belief influences every layer of physiology. The placebo effect has been shown to influence pain processing, emotional regulation, hormonal balance, immune system function, inflammation levels, stress responses, muscle tension, brainwave patterns, neurotransmitter production, cardiovascular responses. Belief does not stop at the surface of consciousness. It penetrates deep into the body's chemical and cellular layers. In lab studies, even telling someone that a pain stimulus will be mild causes the brain to send inhibitory signals that physically reduce the intensity of the pain. Not psychologically, physically. Expectation literally rewires the pain response. This proves that belief is not imagined. It is embodied. The paradox. Belief works even when you don't believe in belief. Some people say, "I don't believe in things like the placebo effect." Ironically, the placebo still works on them, because belief is not always conscious. Much of it is subconscious, running below awareness. You may think you don't believe it, but your body responds to subtle cues, routines, authority figures, and the context around you. This explains why placebos work on skeptics, placebos work on children, placebos work on animals. Placebos work even when the patient is told it's a placebo, open-label placebo, because expectation is not always explicit. It is often instinctive. Belief doesn't need your permission, the body listens anyway. The mystery within the mystery. The deeper you go into the placebo effect, the stranger the mystery becomes. Why does a belief, a non-physical idea, trigger chemical reactions? How can a thought change hormone levels? Why does expectation alter pain signaling? How does trust influence immune response? How does meaning shape biology? Science can measure the effects, but the underlying mechanisms remain partly unexplained. Is belief tapping into ancient survival instincts? Is it a self-regulation system built into human evolution? Is it a form of mind energy interacting with physiology? Or does belief reveal a far deeper truth about consciousness? Whatever the answer, one fact is undeniable. Belief is not passive. Belief is active. Belief has power. Belief is biological. To understand the placebo effect, we must step backward in time, into ancient temples, tribal rituals, and the earliest healing traditions of humanity. There, we find the blueprint of something astonishing. People were harnessing the mind's ability to heal the body long before they had any words to describe it. Healing before science, when belief was medicine. In the ancient world, healing was inseparable from meaning. Pain, sickness, or imbalance was rarely seen as merely physical. It was spiritual, emotional, energetic, and most importantly, it was relational, tied to the gods, ancestors, nature, and the moral fabric of life. This worldview created an environment where belief itself became a powerful therapeutic force. A ritual wasn't just symbolic, it was a biological trigger. A prayer wasn't just spiritual, it was psychological medicine. A sacred object wasn't just decorative, it was a focus point that shaped expectation. Ancient healers intuitively understood what modern science has only recently proven. The mind listens to symbols and the body listens to the mind. The earliest examples of placebo-like healing come from civilizations that fully embraced the mind-body connection as part of everyday life. The shamans, masters of perception and expectation. Some of the oldest recorded healers on Earth were shamans, tribal spiritual leaders found across Africa, Asia, the Americas, Australia, and the Arctic. They used rituals, chants, drumming, herbs, smoke, and trance states to guide people into powerful emotional and psychological experiences. To a modern observer, it might look like nothing more than theater. But to ancient societies, it was medicine. And here's the surprising part. Many of these rituals triggered real physiological change. Shamans understood human psychology intuitively. Their rituals created intense sensory stimulation, emotional reassurance, communal support, deep expectation of healing, belief-provoking symbolism. These elements together formed a potent cocktail, one that often led to measurable healing outcomes, such as reduced pain, lower stress, and improved recovery after illness. It wasn't the smoke or the feathers that healed. It was the belief they created. Shamans were early masters of what we now call psychosomatic medicine. The temples of healing, ancient Egypt, Greece, and beyond. As civilizations evolved, healing practices became more structured and institutionalized. But the role of belief remained at the center. Ancient Egypt. In Egypt, priests acted as physicians, diagnosing both physical and spiritual causes of illness. Temples dedicated to gods like Sekhmet or Imhotep served as sanctuaries where healing rituals, prayers, chants, and sacred preparations created environments rich with expectation and emotional transformation. The symbol of the staff and serpent, still used in medicine today, originates from these traditions. And symbols, as we know now, activate mental schemas and influence subconscious belief systems. Ancient Greece, the temples of Asclepius. Perhaps the most fascinating example of early placebo medicine was found in Greece, the Asclepian healing temples. People traveled great distances to sleep in these temples, hoping the god Asclepius would visit them in dreams. The process was ritualized, a cleansing bath, offerings to the gods, a guided sleep ceremony, priests interpreting dreams, sacred objects and healing snakes, ritual treatments. Modern historians often interpret these as proto-psychotherapy, early methods that leveraged expectation, trust, and symbolic power. Many patients reported miraculous healings. Some of these may have been exaggerated or mythologized, but others are consistent with what we recognize today as placebo responses. When belief is amplified through ritual, environment, and authority, the brain responds with real physiological change. Early herbalism, when plants and belief blended. In many cultures, herbal medicine played a dual role: physical remedy and psychological reassurance. Healers often prescribed herbs with stories, rituals, or sacred significance attached. A plant wasn't just medicine, it carried meaning. And as we now know, meaning profoundly influences how the body reacts to treatment. Even ineffective herbs sometimes produced real healing because the ritual around them, the trust in the healer, the symbolism of the plant, the expectation of relief, triggered placebo mechanisms. The line between pharmacology and belief was blurred. The power of rituals and symbolism. Throughout the ancient world, healing relied heavily on symbolic power. This included amulets, sacred water, blessings, chants and incantations, animal symbolism, astrological timing, healing dances, rhythmic drumming, smoke cleansing, sacred markings on the body. These weren't random cultural traditions. They were early forms of psychological priming, triggering expectation, emotional release, and cognitive shifts that impacted physical health. And amazingly, many of these rituals activated responses identical to modern placebo effects: reduced pain perception, improved immune responses, lower stress hormones, increased emotional regulation, faster recovery. The ancient world did not separate the mind and body. They treated them as one interconnected system, and in doing so, they stumbled upon the very essence of placebo healing. The birth of the word placebo. Medieval Europe. The word placebo first appeared in the 13th century, but not in a medical context. It appeared in a Latin phrase from the Vulgate Bible, placebo domino in region vivorum. It meant, "I shall please the Lord." Eventually, the word placebo became linked to people who said things merely to please others, even when not true. It took centuries before the term was used medically, but the connection is interesting. Placebos work because the mind is pleased with expectation, because it feels safe, because it feels cared for, because it trusts. This emotional reassurance, whether in ancient temple rituals or modern doctor visits, activates healing pathways within the body. Medicine evolves, but belief continues. As medicine progressed from magic to science, belief did not disappear. Even in early Western medical practice, doctors often relied on treatments that had little biochemical effect but much psychological impact. For centuries, bleeding, purging, strange tonics, miracle cures, religious relics, healing prayers, all produced results that today would be recognized as placebo responses. Patients got better not because the treatments were effective, but because they believed they were. The doctor's confidence, ritual, and authority amplified this effect, just as ancient healers once did. A universal human truth. Across ancient tribes, empires, and early medical systems, humanity discovered a simple truth. When the mind believes healing is possible, the body often obeys. When the mind expects recovery, the biology aligns with that expectation. And when meaning, ritual, trust, and hope come together, healing becomes more likely. The early history of the placebo is not a story of trickery. It is the story of how deeply human beings rely on belief to survive. It shows that the placebo effect is not a modern curiosity. It is one of the oldest healing mechanisms on Earth. Imagine this. A patient walks into a clinic, exhausted by years of chronic pain. Nothing has worked, not the medications, not the physical therapy, not the specialists. Then one day they're offered a new treatment, a pill. It's small, white, unremarkable, and completely fake. No active ingredients, no pharmacological power, just sugar and starch. And yet the pain begins to vanish. This isn't fiction. It's one of the most well-documented phenomena in medical science. The placebo effect isn't just a quirk of the mind. It is a measurable biological event, a transformation that often rivals the results of real medicine. But how? How can something that does nothing physically create such powerful healing? Let's explore the world of fake pills that produce real results, and why your brain might be the most powerful pharmacy you'll ever possess. Placebo pills, the silent initiators of healing. When a patient takes a placebo, a pill with no active compound, something unexpected happens in the brain. MRI scans reveal increased activity in regions associated with emotion, expectation, and pain control. Neurotransmitters like endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, and even natural opioids begin to surge. In other words, the brain reacts as if the pill is real. Belief itself triggers a biochemical cascade. So even though the pill is fake, the response is not. Doctors have documented placebo improvements in chronic pain, asthma, migraines, depression, irritable bowel syndrome, anxiety, Parkinson's disease, insomnia, even post-surgical recovery. Some studies show that patients receiving placebos can improve 30% to 60% as much as those receiving real medications. In a handful of cases, the placebo performs almost identically. This is why modern drug trials must compare new medicines against placebos, because sometimes the mind alone can generate such strong healing that it challenges the drug's effectiveness. But perhaps the most shocking part? These changes often occur even when the patient knows the pill is fake. These are called open-label placebos, and they reveal something astonishing about how the human mind actually works. The strange success of open-label placebos. Traditional placebo research relied on deception. Patients believed the pill was real, but then something happened that flipped everything scientists thought they knew. In the early 2000s, researchers began experimenting with open-label placebos. Placebos honestly labeled and presented as inert pills with no active ingredients. Patients were told plainly, "This pill is not medicine, contains no drug." However, the placebo effect has been shown to help some people because the mind can trigger its own healing processes. The results? People still got better, sometimes significantly. In one famous study of irritable bowel syndrome, open-label placebos improved symptoms almost twice as much as patients who received no treatment. Another study on chronic lower back pain showed a major reduction in discomfort, even though participants were fully aware their pill was fake. This leads to a profound realization. It's not the deception. It's the ritual of treatment, the act of being cared for, taking a pill, believing in possibility, participating in a healing process that activates the brain. Which brings us to the next strange truth. The more dramatic the placebo, the bigger the effect. Not all placebos are created equal. A tiny white pill might help, but a large pill, a colored pill, a capsule, an injection, a procedure, these create different levels of psychological impact. Researchers found patterns. Colored pills work better than white ones. Red pills stimulate, blue pills calm. 2 placebos work better than 1. Capsules outperform tablets. Injections outperform capsules. Fake surgeries often outperform fake injections. Yes, fake surgery. In one of the most ethically controversial studies ever conducted, patients with severe knee osteoarthritis were divided into 3 groups. 1 received actual arthroscopic surgery. 1 received only the cleaning step. 1 received a placebo surgery, meaning the surgeon made the incision, mimed the procedure, then stitched them up without doing anything. The results? The placebo surgery group improved just as much as the real surgery groups. This shattered the medical community's understanding of pain and expectation. The mere belief that something had been repaired triggered physical healing. If fake operations can reduce pain and increase mobility, what else can belief influence? The placebo brain, a self-healing machine. When scientists examine the brains of placebo responders, they consistently find one thing: expectation rewires biology. When you expect pain relief, the brain releases endogenous opioids, natural painkillers chemically similar to morphine. When you expect improvement in mood, dopamine floods the system. When you expect calm, the parasympathetic nervous system shifts the body away from stress. Belief literally becomes biology. Here's what the placebo response can trigger. 1. Real pain relief. Studies show placebos can activate the same pain relief pathways targeted by narcotics. 2. Improvements in immune function. Certain placebos have been shown to increase antibody production and reduce inflammation. 3. Better sleep and reduced anxiety. Even sham sleep aids can improve insomnia symptoms. 4. Reduced symptoms of Parkinson's. Placebos can boost dopamine in Parkinson's patients, temporarily improving motor function. 5. Faster healing. Patients who believe they're receiving effective treatment often recover quicker after injuries and surgeries. The brain is not just reacting psychologically. It is reacting biologically. This is why the placebo effect isn't all in your head. It happens in your brain, yes, but the downstream effects happen throughout the entire body. The role of the healer, why doctors matter more than we realize. Here's a little-known fact. The placebo effect is stronger when the doctor is confident, empathetic, kind, reassuring, engaged. The more compassionate the healer, the stronger the belief. The stronger the belief, the stronger the healing. This suggests something fundamental. Humans are wired for connection, reassurance, and guidance. When we feel safe, supported, and hopeful, our bodies respond accordingly. This is perhaps one of the deepest truths the placebo effect has revealed. Healing is not just chemical, it is relational. The big question: if fake pills work, what else can the mind do? Placebo pills show us that the boundary between mind and body isn't a boundary at all. It's a dialogue, a conversation, a negotiation between expectation and biology. And if simple sugar pills can calm chronic pain, lift depression, regulate the nervous system, improve sleep, and speed healing, what would happen if we consciously learned to harness this connection? If belief can change the body, then perhaps we've only seen the tip of what the mind is capable of. If you ask most people what expectation means, they'll describe a thought, a feeling, or a prediction about the future. But to neuroscientists, expectation is not abstract. It is a biological force. A signal that triggers chemical reactions, nervous system responses, hormonal shifts, and even changes in gene expression. Expectation doesn't just live in the mind. It reshapes the body. What the placebo effect reveals is that belief is not passive. It is an active biological process. One so powerful that it can reduce pain, relieve symptoms, accelerate healing, and change the course of illnesses. But how does this happen? How can a simple expectation, the belief that something might help, create real physiological change? Let's dive into the science of how expectation rewires your biology. Expectation begins in the brain but doesn't stay there. When a person expects relief or improvement, the brain begins preparing the body for that outcome. It's not wishful thinking, it's a survival mechanism. Expectation activates several key regions. The prefrontal cortex, which processes prediction and belief. The anterior cingulate cortex, which regulates attention and emotional response. The nucleus accumbens, the brain's reward center. The amygdala, which governs fear or safety. The periaqueductal gray, which controls pain modulation. These regions communicate rapidly, creating what scientists call an anticipatory network, a system that prepares the body for the expected experience. If you expect pain relief, this network sends a message to the body. Prepare for comfort. If you expect danger or side effects, it says, prepare for harm. Expectation is the starting point, but the effects ripple outward into the entire biological system. And nowhere is this more visible than in the chemistry of the brain. Endorphins, nature's own morphine. One of the most extraordinary discoveries came from placebo pain studies. When subjects believed they were receiving a painkiller, their brains released endorphins, natural opioids structurally similar to morphine. In one famous experiment, researchers gave volunteers a placebo that they claimed was a strong pain medication. Brain scans lit up as endorphin levels surged. Then the researchers injected the participants with naloxone, a drug that blocks opioid receptors. Suddenly, the placebo effect disappeared. This meant one thing: the pain relief wasn't imaginary. It was caused by actual opioid molecules the brain released in anticipation of healing. Expectation triggered chemistry. Chemistry changed the body. The body changed the experience. And the effect didn't stop at pain. Dopamine, the molecule of motivation, reward, and movement. Dopamine is involved in pleasure, motivation, attention, and physical movement. It's also deeply tied to expectation. When you expect something positive, your dopamine system activates before it even happens. This is why anticipation can feel almost as powerful as the reward itself. In placebo studies on Parkinson's disease, a condition defined by dopamine deficiency, something remarkable happened. Patients who believed they were receiving genuine treatment showed dramatic increases in dopamine levels. Some were able to move more freely. Some showed reduced tremors. Some improved enough that doctors could observe the change with the naked eye. The belief caused the brain to produce dopamine, a chemical they desperately needed, simply because the mind expected improvement. This is one of the clearest demonstrations that expectation is not psychological fluff. It is biochemistry, the stress connection, calming the fight or flight system. Expectation also influences the autonomic nervous system, especially the balance between the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, the parasympathetic system, rest and repair. If you expect relief, safety, or improvement, the parasympathetic system activates. Heart rate slows, blood pressure lowers, muscles relax, digestion improves, healing processes accelerate. This is why people often feel calmer or physically lighter after receiving a placebo. Their nervous system shifts from survival mode to healing mode. On the other hand, if you expect negative effects, fear, or danger, this activates the sympathetic system, producing the nocebo effect. Same mechanism, opposite expectation, opposite result. How expectation reaches the body. The hormonal cascade. Your brain doesn't keep its expectations to itself. It communicates them to every system in your body through hormones. One of the most studied is cortisol, the stress hormone. When expectation is positive, cortisol drops. When expectation is negative, cortisol spikes. Because cortisol controls inflammation, blood sugar, metabolism, and immune response, changing cortisol levels can rapidly change how the body feels and functions. But expectation influences far more than cortisol. Hormones affected by expectation include endorphins, natural painkillers. Dopamine, motivation, reward, movement. Serotonin, mood regulation, sleep, digestion. Oxytocin, trust, bonding, emotional safety. Adrenaline and noradrenaline, alertness and physical readiness. Immune cytokines, inflammation and healing. This is why the placebo effect is so widespread across conditions. Expectation influences systems that control pain, emotion, immunity, digestion, and healing. It is a whole-body experience. Conditioning, expectation on autopilot. Another mechanism behind the placebo effect is conditioning, the same process discovered by Pavlov with his famous dogs. When your body experiences relief or improvement repeatedly after taking a pill, receiving a treatment, or undergoing a ritual, it learns. Eventually, the ritual alone produces the response. For example, if someone takes pain medication daily, their body begins preparing for pain relief as soon as the pill hits their tongue. If someone receives anxiety medication regularly, their nervous system anticipates calm at the sight of the pill bottle. If someone takes sleep aids often, the brain begins entering sleep mode the moment they begin their bedtime routine. Your biology becomes trained to respond before the treatment even acts. This is why placebos often work best when they mimic established routines. Expectation isn't just belief, it's learned biology. Expectation can even influence gene expression. One of the most revolutionary discoveries in placebo science came from the field of epigenetics, the study of how genes turn on or off. In some studies, placebo responders showed shifts in the activity of genes related to inflammation, immune function, neurotransmitter release, stress response, cellular repair. This means expectation can change the behavior of your cells at a genetic level. The mind isn't just influencing chemistry, it's influencing the instructions your body uses to maintain health. Once again, belief becomes biology. The takeaway: expectation is a biological power source. The placebo effect isn't proof that illness is imaginary. It's proof that healing involves both the mind and the body working together. Expectation changes brain activity, alters biochemistry, modulates hormones, rewires the nervous system, influences the immune system, and even shifts gene expression, all without a single active drug. This is not magic. This is neuroscience. This is physiology. This is the mind-body connection at work. And if expectation can influence the body so deeply, then perhaps the greatest medicine we possess is the one we have overlooked the longest: our own belief. We've seen how belief can heal, but belief has a darker side. Just as expectation can trigger the release of endorphins, dopamine, and other healing chemicals, it can also trigger pain, illness, and suffering. This is the nocebo effect, the sinister twin of the placebo effect. While the placebo effect shows that the mind can cure, the nocebo effect demonstrates that the mind can also harm. And in some cases, the harm is very real. Understanding the nocebo effect is crucial because it reminds us of the profound influence our thoughts, fears, and expectations have on our physical health. What is the nocebo effect? The word nocebo comes from Latin, I shall harm. It describes the phenomenon in which negative expectations, fear, or stress produce real, measurable symptoms in the body, even in the absence of any harmful substance. In other words, if the mind believes something will make you sick, the body often obeys. Examples are everywhere. Patients in clinical trials report side effects like nausea, headaches, or dizziness even when taking sugar pills instead of real drugs. People feel worse after reading a drug's list of potential side effects, despite receiving no active ingredient. Fear and stress about illness can actually intensify pain, weaken immunity, and slow recovery. The nocebo effect reveals that the brain doesn't just heal, it also responds to threat signals. When your mind expects harm, your body prepares for it, often producing symptoms that mirror the very problem you fear. How the nocebo effect works. The mechanisms behind the nocebo effect are eerily similar to the placebo effect, but in reverse. When you expect harm, the brain interprets the expectation as danger. Areas such as the anterior cingulate cortex and amygdala activate, creating stress and heightening pain perception. Stress hormones flood the body. Cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline spike, triggering the fight-or-flight response. Blood pressure rises, heart rate increases, and digestion slows. Chronic stress can even impair immune function. Pain pathways amplify. The spinal cord and brain interpret harmless sensations as painful. A light touch may feel like burning. A minor headache can intensify. Immune function weakens. Negative expectation suppresses antibody production and inflammatory regulation, making the body more vulnerable to disease. Neurotransmitters shift. Levels of dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins decrease, creating anxiety, low mood, and heightened perception of discomfort. The nocebo effect proves one undeniable truth. The mind can create real suffering in the body, just as it can create real healing. Classic examples of the nocebo effect. 1. Clinical drug trials. In studies, patients receiving placebos often report side effects identical to those listed for the real drug. For example, in antidepressant trials, up to 50% of patients on placebo report nausea, fatigue, or sexual dysfunction, even though no drug was administered. In hypertension trials, patients on placebo can experience dizziness and headaches purely because they were warned about potential side effects. The brain anticipates the negative effects, and the body manifests them, proving the mind's predictive power can work against us. 2. Pain amplification. Researchers have shown that if patients expect pain to worsen, their bodies increase the sensitivity of pain pathways. Conversely, if patients expect relief, the same pathways are inhibited. Pain is not only biological, it is expectation dependent. 3. Stress-induced illness. Studies demonstrate that chronic worry about illness or trauma can lower immune response, slow wound healing, and exacerbate autoimmune conditions. Fear literally makes the body sick. Why nocebo is so powerful. The nocebo effect is magnified by several factors: anxiety and hypervigilance. Individuals prone to worry or stress are more likely to experience negative physical responses from expectation alone. Authority and suggestion. If a doctor, news report, or social source warns of a side effect or danger, the expectation can trigger a physiological response. Prior experience. Patients who previously experienced side effects are more likely to anticipate them in the future, and the body often reproduces them. Cultural beliefs. In societies where illness is associated with fear, superstition, or fatalism, negative expectations can heighten the incidence of real symptoms. Essentially, the nocebo effect is the mind-body connection operating in reverse. Just as belief can heal, fear can harm, and the more attention, meaning, or stress we assign to a symptom, the stronger the effect. The real-life consequences of the nocebo effect. While often subtle, nocebo responses can be severe. Patients may refuse medications because they fear side effects, even if the drug is critical for survival. Surgery or medical procedures may cause elevated stress, slower healing, or complications if patients anticipate pain or failure. Chronic illness can worsen if negative expectation dominates mental focus. In some cases, Studies suggest that up to 30% of adverse reactions in clinical trials are attributable to the nocebo effect rather than the drug itself. This is not imaginary. It is measurable. It is real. It is proof that expectation, positive or negative, shapes the body's reality. Nocebo versus placebo, two sides of the same coin. The placebo and nocebo effects are mirror images. Placebo, expectation of improvement triggers healing. Nocebo, expectation of harm triggers illness. Both operate through the same neurobiological pathways. The brain interprets expectation, the nervous system responds, hormones shift, and physiology changes. The difference is in the direction of the belief. Positive expectation creates recovery. Negative expectation creates suffering. This is why the mind-body connection is neither optional nor trivial. It is central to human health. How to protect yourself from the nocebo effect. While you can't control every external influence, research suggests practical strategies to minimize nocebo responses. Mindful awareness, notice when fear or anxiety begins to amplify symptoms. Positive framing, focus on what will help rather than what might go wrong. Trusted guidance, seek health professionals who communicate confidently, calmly, and empathetically. Cognitive reframing, replace catastrophic thoughts with evidence-based understanding. Relaxation and stress reduction techniques such as meditation, deep breathing, and visualization can counteract negative expectation. By managing expectation, you can influence your physiology, not just for healing, but to prevent unnecessary suffering. Belief can heal or harm. The nocebo effect is a reminder of a simple, profound truth. Your mind is not a passenger in your body. It is an active driver. Expect healing, body responds. Expect harm, body responds. Your beliefs are a biological force. They can work for you or against you. Understanding this power gives us a rare gift. The ability to consciously choose how we direct our mind, shaping not only perception, but physical reality itself. The birth of placebo surgery studies. Modern medicine has long relied on surgery as a powerful tool for healing. But in the 1990s, researchers began asking a shocking question. How much of the benefit of surgery is due to the procedure itself? And how much is due to expectation, belief, and the ritual of treatment? To investigate, scientists designed clinical trials where some patients received real surgery while others received sham surgery. Procedures that mimicked every aspect of the operation except the actual therapeutic action. The results were astonishing. In many cases, patients who underwent sham surgery experienced similar improvements to those who received the real operation. The famous knee surgery studies. One of the most cited examples involves arthroscopic knee surgery for osteoarthritis. In these studies, Group A received the standard procedure, cleaning and repairing the joint. Group B underwent a sham procedure, incisions were made, and the patient was anesthetized, but no repair was performed. Months later, doctors assessed pain levels and mobility. The outcome? Both groups reported comparable pain relief and improved function. In other words, the ritual of surgery, the anesthesia, the incisions, the attention, and the expectation of relief, produced real healing, even without any physical intervention. This forced the medical community to confront a radical truth. Sometimes, the belief in the surgery is as powerful as the surgery itself. Beyond knees, placebo surgery in other conditions. The phenomenon isn't limited to knee procedures. Research has shown placebo effects in vertebroplasty, a procedure for spinal fractures where sham surgery produced outcomes similar to real injections. Angioplasty, minor improvements in heart function have been reported even when stents were not placed. Gastrointestinal interventions, sham endoscopic procedures relieved symptoms in irritable bowel syndrome patients. Across these studies, one factor remained consistent: Patients believed they had undergone a therapeutic procedure. That belief alone activated neurological and physiological pathways that reduced pain, improved mobility, and sometimes even enhanced tissue function. Why placebo surgery works? Placebo surgery illustrates the mind's profound capacity to influence the body through expectation, ritual, and context. The power of ritual. Surgery is one of the most elaborate healing rituals humans perform. It involves preoperative consultations, hospital admission, anesthesia, incisions, medical staff attending to every detail. Even if the surgery itself doesn't produce physical repair, the ritual communicates. You are being cared for. Healing is happening. Relief is coming. This expectation alone can trigger biochemical changes. Endorphins, dopamine, and natural anti-inflammatories surge in anticipation of relief. Patient-doctor interaction. Trust, confidence, and empathy are amplified during surgical procedures. Surgeons convey authority and reassurance, subconscious signals that the body interprets as safe and healing. This human interaction strengthens the mind-body response. Studies show that patients' belief in the competence and care of the surgeon often predicts the strength of the placebo effect more than the procedure itself. Neurological rewiring. Pain perception is not a fixed signal. It is processed by the brain. When the brain expects healing, pain signaling in the spinal cord decreases. Endogenous opioids are released. Reward circuits reinforce the sensation of relief. Anxiety and fear are reduced. Even though the joint or organ hasn't been physically repaired, the experience of relief is real. Conditioned responses. Many surgical patients have prior experience with healthcare interventions. When entering an operating room, their body anticipates relief. The sterile environment, surgical tools, and routine mimic previous healing experiences, triggering conditioned responses, automatic biological reactions associated with recovery. The ethics and controversy of placebo surgery. Placebo surgery raises serious ethical questions. Performing sham operations involves risk, anesthesia, infection, and scarring without direct physical benefit. Because of this, these trials are conducted under strict ethical oversight, with informed consent and careful monitoring. Patients are often told that they might receive a sham procedure for research purposes. Yet the studies highlight a critical truth. The mind's expectation can rival or even surpass physical intervention in some cases. Some researchers argue that understanding placebo surgery can transform how we treat pain, chronic conditions, and rehabilitation, focusing more on expectation, environment, and psychological support as part of medical care. What placebo surgery teaches us about healing. The lessons from placebo surgery are profound. Belief is a biological force. The brain interprets expectation as a command to heal. Healing is more than mechanics. Surgery does not solely work through tissue repair. Context, meaning, and ritual contribute significantly. Ritual and environment matter. Hospitals, preoperative routines, and professional care amplify expectation, enhancing recovery. The mind is a partner in treatment. Pain, inflammation, and even mobility are influenced by anticipation, trust, and focus. Placebo surgery is not just an oddity. It is a powerful window into how the human brain can influence biology, sometimes bypassing traditional medicine entirely. The bigger picture, your brain as the ultimate healing tool. If belief can create relief in the context of a surgical procedure, then it is capable of shaping healing across the body in countless other ways. From pills to rituals, from therapies to meditation, the principle remains. Your mind interprets context, expectation, and trust, and your body follows the command. Placebo surgery proves it in the most dramatic and measurable way possible. Patients healed not because of scalpels, but because of belief, expectation, and the mind-body connection. This is the frontier of modern medicine, where biology meets consciousness, and the power of belief becomes a central component of healing. For centuries, medicine and belief walked hand in hand. Ancient healers, shamans, and temple priests understood that the mind was inseparable from the body. Then modern science arrived. Clinical trials, microscopes, and pharmaceuticals shifted the focus to molecules, cells, and organs. The mind, once central to healing, was largely relegated to the margins. Yet today, after decades of research into placebo and nocebo effects, neuroscience, and psychosomatic medicine, the truth is undeniable. The mind shapes the body in profound ways. Modern medicine is rediscovering what ancient civilizations already knew. Belief is biology. The rise of psychosomatic medicine. The term psychosomatic literally means mind-body. It refers to illnesses where psychological factors directly influence physical symptoms. Conditions like chronic pain, hypertension, asthma, and even gastrointestinal disorders are now understood to have strong psychosomatic components. Take chronic back pain, for example. MRI scans often show minimal structural damage, yet patients experience debilitating pain. Research indicates that the perception of pain is heavily influenced by stress, expectation, anxiety, tension. This is the same mechanism behind the placebo effect. The mind anticipates, interprets, and amplifies sensations. Modern medicine now routinely considers these factors, integrating psychological therapies alongside physical interventions. Mind over pain, cognitive approaches in medicine. One of the clearest examples of the mind-body connection in practice is pain management. Chronic pain affects millions worldwide, yet studies show that up to 50% of pain perception can be modified by expectation and belief. Modern interventions include cognitive behavioral therapy. CBT helps patients reinterpret pain signals, reducing suffering. Mindfulness and meditation calms the nervous system, reduces stress hormones, and enhances parasympathetic activity. Guided imagery uses visualization to trick the brain into feeling relief. Biofeedback monitors physiological processes like heart rate or muscle tension and teaches patients to control them. In essence, these techniques harness the same biological pathways revealed by placebo research: neurotransmitters, hormone cascades, and nervous system modulation. The mind is trained to assist the body in healing, not just passively observe. The role of expectation in treatment outcomes. Expectation is a powerful predictor of medical outcomes. Studies consistently show that patients who believe in the effectiveness of a treatment often experience faster recovery, reduced pain, improved immune function, greater adherence to therapy. Even in pharmacology, the mind matters. A patient's belief in a medication's effectiveness can amplify its effect, while skepticism or fear can diminish it. This underscores the need for holistic care. Treatments aren't just chemical interventions. They are experiences shaped by context, trust, and meaning. The placebo effect in daily medical practice. While clinical trials often highlight placebo pills, the principles extend far beyond sugar tablets. Everyday medical care provides ample opportunities for the placebo effect to manifest. Doctor-patient interaction. A confident, empathetic, and reassuring physician can trigger expectation-based healing. Treatment rituals, routine procedures, injections, and even the act of taking medication signal care and efficacy to the brain. Medical environment. Clean, professional, and organized clinical spaces communicate safety and competence. These factors all influence patient outcomes. Modern medicine is learning that how we administer care, not just what we administer, can be just as important. Neuroscience confirms the mind-body link. Advances in neuroimaging and molecular biology have validated ancient insights. Brain scans show that placebo treatments activate regions involved in pain modulation, reducing the perception of discomfort, reward and motivation, increasing dopamine signaling, emotional regulation, calming the amygdala and reducing anxiety, immune response, boosting cytokine regulation and inflammation control. Even gene expression can be influenced by expectation. The mind sends signals that reach the very blueprint of the body, shaping the function of cells and tissues. Science is finally catching up to the wisdom that the mind is not a passenger in the body. It is an active participant in health. Integrative medicine, bridging science and belief. Integrative medicine combines conventional treatments with approaches that leverage the mind-body connection. Techniques include meditation and mindfulness programs, yoga and movement therapies, relaxation training, hypnotherapy, guided imagery and biofeedback. Patients report measurable improvements in pain, anxiety, depression, fatigue, and recovery times. The results are often comparable to, or even exceed, traditional interventions, particularly when combined with pharmacology. This approach echoes the principles revealed by placebo research. Care, context, and expectation matter. Healing is not purely chemical. It is relational, cognitive, and experiential. The future of mind-body medicine. The implications are profound. Personalized expectation-based care. Understanding how patients' beliefs influence outcomes can guide treatment strategies. Reducing unnecessary interventions. By leveraging mind-body effects, some conditions may require fewer medications or procedures. Optimizing hospital environments. From lighting to staff communication, subtle factors can shape healing outcomes. Mental training as medicine. Teaching patients to harness expectation, attention, and belief could become standard in medical protocols. The placebo effect, once dismissed as a nuisance in clinical trials, is now being recognized as a therapeutic tool. It reminds us that humans are not just biological machines, we are meaning-making organisms. Our minds, beliefs, and expectations actively shape our bodies. Medicine that acknowledges the mind. Modern medicine is beginning to reintegrate what ancient healers always knew. The mind and body are inseparable. The placebo effect is not a trick. It is proof that expectation, belief, and context are real physiological forces. When doctors, researchers, and patients harness this connection consciously, medicine can become more effective, compassionate, and holistic. The body does not heal in isolation. It heals with the mind, and the mind, it turns out, is incredibly powerful. In modern medicine, the mind is finally being recognized not as a side effect, but as a central player in health, recovery, and human resilience. Healing is more than biology. Across cultures and throughout history, humans have intuitively understood that the mind, spirit, and belief are inseparable from the body. While modern science often separates medicine from spirituality, anthropology and cross-cultural studies reveal a universal truth. Healing has always been a mind-body-spirit practice. Understanding the placebo effect in this context offers a new lens. The mind's ability to influence physical health is not a modern discovery. It is an ancient, global wisdom. Healing in ancient cultures. In almost every society, from the earliest civilizations to indigenous tribes, medicine was inseparable from ritual, belief, and community. Ancient Egypt, physicians invoked deities and performed rituals alongside pharmacological treatments. Priests of Sekhmet or Thoth would chant prayers or administer spells to promote healing, often alongside herbal remedies. Belief in divine intervention was considered part of the therapeutic process. Traditional Chinese medicine, TCM healing, is based on balancing qi, life energy, through acupuncture, herbal medicine, and meditation. The patient's belief and participation are essential. The mind must align with treatment for qi to flow correctly. Ayurveda, India healing involves harmony between body, mind, and spirit. Treatments include herbal medicines, diet, meditation, and rituals designed to strengthen willpower and intention. Indigenous traditions. Across Africa, the Americas, and Oceania, shamans and medicine people use ritual, chanting, and symbolic acts to heal. These are not mere superstition. They intentionally harness expectation, community support, and focused intention to produce measurable improvements in health. The common thread is clear. Healing works best when belief, intention, and ritual are integrated with physical interventions. The placebo effect in spiritual practices. Modern science now provides evidence for what ancient cultures intuitively practiced. The mind can influence physiology. Rituals, prayers, and symbolic acts create expectation and meaning, which trigger biological responses similar to placebos. For example, prayer and meditation. Studies show that regular prayer or focused meditation can reduce blood pressure, improve immune function, and decrease stress hormones like cortisol. Rituals and ceremonies. The structure of a healing ceremony creates an expectation of relief. Patients often report improvements even before any physical treatment is applied. Sacred objects and symbols. Belief in the efficacy of amulets, charms, or ritual implements can elicit measurable stress reduction and symptom relief. These practices illustrate the principle of meaning as medicine. The mind interprets signals, from words, symbols, or actions, as healing commands, which the body enacts biochemically. Cultural variation in placebo response. Interestingly, placebo effects are not universal in magnitude. They are shaped by culture. In Western medicine, patients respond strongly to interventions that appear scientific, technologically advanced, and authoritative. A high-tech scan or surgical procedure can produce more placebo effect than a simple pill. In Eastern traditions, mindfulness, meditation, and ritual produce stronger responses. The context and cultural meaning of the treatment amplify expectation-based healing. In indigenous settings, communal involvement, chants, and symbolic acts significantly enhance outcomes. Belief in the ritual is intertwined with trust in the healer and the community. This suggests that the mind-body connection is universal, but the triggers, rituals, symbols, or beliefs are culturally defined. Expectation is real. The form it takes is culturally informed. Healing as a mind-body social phenomenon. Anthropologists highlight that healing is rarely a solitary act. Healing typically occurs within social and relational contexts, whether in temples, clinics, or villages. Community support, being cared for, observed, and encouraged strengthens expectation and reduces stress. Authority of the healer. The healer's credibility amplifies belief in recovery, enhancing physiological response. Ritualized process. The act of undergoing treatment, whether a prayer, ceremony, or clinical procedure, signals the body to initiate repair processes. Modern placebo research mirrors these findings. The stronger the therapeutic ritual, the more robust the response. Meaning, expectation, and context are as crucial as the treatment itself. Spiritual healing and modern science. Converging evidence. Recent research bridges spiritual and scientific perspectives. For example, neurotheology studies. Brain imaging shows that meditation and prayer activate the same areas involved in placebo responses, including the prefrontal cortex, anterior cingulate, and reward circuits. Mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, reduces pain, anxiety, depression, and inflammation, a modern scientific confirmation of ancient practices. Energy healing practices. Even when the mechanism is unclear, patient belief, expectation, and focused attention reliably produce physiological improvements in pain and stress. These findings suggest that spirituality and expectation are not just cultural constructs. They are biologically active pathways. Belief is literally translated into healing signals. The lesson, healing requires meaning. The placebo effect and spiritual healing converge on one truth. The human mind interprets experience and expectation as commands to the body. Meaning and intention matter. When treatment carries significance, whether through cultural ritual, medical authority, or personal belief, the body responds. Healing is amplified not by deception, but by the integration of biology, drugs, surgery, or physical interventions. Mind, expectation, belief, attention. Culture and community, ritual, context, and relational support. The ancient maxim, mind over matter, is more than metaphor. It is physiology. Integrating science and spiritual wisdom. Spiritual and cultural practices have long leveraged the mind-body connection. Modern placebo research validates their core principle. Expectation, belief, and meaning influence healing. By understanding and respecting this connection, medicine can become more holistic, compassionate, and effective. The future of healthcare may lie not only in drugs and surgery, but also in integrating ritual, belief, and intention into treatments, consciously harnessing the brain's innate capacity to heal. Across history and culture, one truth endures. Healing is not just physical. It is a mind-body-spirit phenomenon, and belief is a force the body cannot ignore. We've explored the astonishing science of the placebo effect, how expectation, belief, and context can reshape biology, modulate pain, and even influence recovery from serious conditions. We've seen how culture, ritual, and spirituality enhance healing. And we've learned that the nocebo effect reminds us fear and expectation can also cause real harm. But what does all this mean for your life? Can you consciously harness the placebo effect to improve health, boost well-being, or accelerate personal growth? The answer is a resounding yes. The placebo effect is not a trick. It's a tool, a natural, mind-driven mechanism that you can cultivate. Harness the power of expectation. Expectation is the foundation of the placebo effect. Your brain constantly predicts outcomes based on experience, belief, and context. When you expect healing, relief, or improvement, your body begins to respond, releasing endorphins, regulating hormones, and modulating pain. To use expectation in your life, visualize success and healing. Mental imagery is a proven way to prepare your body for change. Athletes, performers, and patients all use visualization to improve performance or recovery. Affirm your intentions. Positive statements like, "My body is healing," or "I am growing stronger every day," signal your brain to engage physiological pathways that support recovery. Focus on outcomes, not fear. Shifting attention from what could go wrong to what could improve strengthens the mind-body response. Your expectation doesn't have to be magical. It just needs to be believed. The stronger the belief, the more pronounced the effect. Create healing rituals. Rituals, repetition, and context amplify the placebo response. When a treatment feels meaningful or significant, the brain interprets it as a cue to heal. Daily routines. Even simple acts, like drinking herbal tea mindfully or performing stretches at the same time every day, can trigger positive physiological responses. Symbolic tools. Wearing a bracelet, using a particular object, or even performing a gesture while taking medicine or practicing wellness can create expectation-based improvement. Consistency. Rituals must be repeated to strengthen conditioned responses. Your body learns to anticipate relief or improvement, reinforcing the effect. Think of rituals as a bridge between mind and body, a daily signal that your system is preparing for positive change. Leverage environment and context. The context in which you receive treatment, care, or practice wellness can dramatically influence outcomes. Your surroundings communicate subtle signals to the brain about safety, care, and efficacy. Create supportive spaces. A calm, clean, and organized environment reduces stress and encourages the body's natural repair processes. Engage supportive people. Friends, family, or mentors who reinforce your goals increase expectation and motivation. Use credible tools. Whether taking a supplement, using a therapy, or performing an exercise, the appearance of professionalism and authority enhances the placebo effect. Even subtle cues, like lighting, music, or the presence of a supportive practitioner, can amplify the mind-body response. Mindfulness and attention. Expectation works best when attention is directed toward the desired outcome. Mindfulness, the conscious focus on present experience, is a powerful amplifier of placebo responses. Observe your body. Notice sensations without judgment. Attention alone can modulate pain, stress, and immune function. Direct focus toward improvement. During healing, exercise, or meditation, intentionally attend to positive sensations or changes. Reduce distraction. Multitasking or constant stress reduces the efficacy of expectation-based responses. Mindfulness is not just calming. It's a tool to align your conscious and subconscious expectations with real physiological outcomes. Positive belief and self-compassion. Belief is more than thought. It's an emotional state that primes the body for healing. Combine expectation with self-compassion to maximize placebo effects. Acknowledge progress. Celebrate small improvements, even if subtle. Recognition reinforces expectation and triggers positive biological responses. Reduce negative self-talk. Avoid catastrophic thinking or self-doubt. These fuel the nocebo effect. Cultivate hope. Optimism is correlated with stronger immune response, lower inflammation, and better recovery from illness. Belief doesn't mean denial of reality. It means aligning your mind with the possibility of improvement. Use placebo principles in everyday health. Beyond illness, the placebo effect can improve daily life in multiple ways. Pain management. Mindful expectation, visualization, or rituals can reduce tension headaches, muscle pain, or chronic discomfort. Sleep improvement. Believing in the efficacy of a bedtime routine or sleep aid increases melatonin production and enhances restorative sleep. Fitness and recovery. Visualization, affirmations, and consistent routines can improve performance and recovery from exercise. Stress reduction. Belief in relaxation techniques, meditation, or breathing exercises amplifies physiological calm. The key is intentionality. Consciously integrating expectation, ritual, and attention into daily practices. Avoid the nocebo trap. Just as belief can heal, fear can harm. The nocebo effect shows that negative expectation can worsen pain, slow recovery, or even trigger illness. Be mindful of suggestions. Limit exposure to overly negative health warnings or catastrophic news. Reframe challenges. Instead of "this will hurt," try "I am prepared, and my body can manage this." Focus on empowerment. Seek information and tools that strengthen confidence and expectation of improvement. Your beliefs are a double-edged sword. Learn to wield them consciously. You are your own healing partner. The placebo effect teaches a revolutionary truth. You are an active participant in your own health. The mind is not passive. It is a biological engine that interprets expectation and belief into measurable physiological outcomes. By harnessing expectation, creating rituals, optimizing environment, practicing mindfulness, cultivating belief and self-compassion, you can leverage the same principles that heal patients in clinical trials athletes in performance studies, and individuals in spiritual and cultural traditions across the globe. The science is clear: your mind is not separate from your body. It is a tool, a partner, and a catalyst for healing. By understanding and practicing these principles, you can consciously enhance your well-being, resilience, and quality of life. The question is not whether the placebo effect works; it clearly does. The question is, will you harness it for yourself? It's clear that the placebo effect is more than a quirk of medicine. It is a window into the profound power of the mind over the body. Science, spirituality, and culture converge on a single truth: expectation, belief, and attention shape physiology. But what does this mean for the future of medicine? How will understanding the mind-body connection change the way we prevent illness, manage disease, and optimize human health? The future of medicine may not just be pharmacological or surgical. It may be psychological, intentional, and integrative. Personalized mind-body medicine. One of the most promising directions is personalized medicine that integrates the mind. While genetics, lifestyle, and biomarkers are already guiding treatments, researchers are beginning to incorporate psychological traits and expectation-based responses into care. Patients differ in their susceptibility to placebo and nocebo effects. Some respond strongly to expectation, others less so. By measuring psychological profiles, doctors may tailor interventions to maximize the healing power of belief. Future healthcare could assess mindset, stress levels, optimism, and prior experiences as systematically as blood pressure or cholesterol. Imagine a treatment plan that combines drugs, surgery, or rehabilitation with personalized mental protocols, enhancing the body's natural response to care. Integrating mindfulness and mental training. Mindfulness, meditation, visualization, and cognitive behavioral techniques are no longer alternative practices. They are evidence-based medicine. Stress reduction, immune support, pain management, and recovery rates improve significantly when mental training is integrated. Hospitals and clinics are already incorporating meditation rooms, guided imagery, and relaxation protocols to enhance patient outcomes. Athletes and high performers are using mental rehearsal and expectation-focused techniques to optimize performance. The mind is not a passive observer in healing. It is a dynamic agent, and training it may become as standard as taking medication or receiving physiotherapy. Placebo-inspired pharmacology. Surprisingly, the future of pharmacology itself may leverage the placebo effect. Studies suggest that medications combined with expectation enhancement are more effective than the chemical alone. This does not mean deception is necessary. Patients can benefit from openly understanding how belief amplifies drug efficacy. Doctors may integrate psychological framing, rituals, or symbolic cues with traditional medicine to optimize healing. Even subtle cues, like the color, shape, or ritualized administration of medication, influence perception and outcomes. Medicine is evolving from purely mechanical interventions to contextualized, mind-informed treatments, reducing harm through nocebo awareness. As research deepens, the nocebo effect, where expectation creates harm, will receive more attention. Medical professionals will be trained to minimize negative suggestion without withholding information. Health communications will focus on empowerment, optimism, and clarity, reducing anxiety-driven physical symptoms. Patients will learn to manage fear and expectation, harnessing knowledge to prevent psychosomatic harm. Future medicine is not just about healing. It is about protecting the mind from inadvertently harming the body. Mind-body technology. Emerging technologies are beginning to bridge mind and medicine. Neurofeedback devices can train the brain to regulate pain, stress, and autonomic responses. Virtual reality therapies immerse patients in healing environments, enhancing expectation and reducing perceived pain. Biofeedback and wearable sensors track physiological states and guide patients to consciously modify heart rate, respiration, or muscle tension. These tools harness placebo principles at the intersection of neuroscience, engineering, and psychology, offering patients direct, actionable control over their physiology. Cultural and spiritual integration. The future of healing may also re-embrace cultural and spiritual wisdom. Ritual, intention, and meaning are biologically active components of healing. Integrating culturally significant practices, from meditation to ceremonial acts, can amplify treatment effectiveness. Healing may become more holistic, acknowledging the inseparability of mind, body, and spirit. Science is catching up to traditions that have always understood one thing: belief and meaning matter. A new model of medicine. The future vision is a truly integrative model, one where biology, psychology, culture, and expectation are treated as co-equal determinants of health. Where the mind is trained, the environment optimized, rituals utilized, and context leveraged alongside drugs and surgery. Where patients are active participants, aware that their thoughts, beliefs, and focus are not passive, but therapeutic. Placebo research has already challenged old paradigms. The future will fully embrace the mind as a primary instrument of healing. The mind as medicine. The placebo effect is not a trick. It is proof that the mind and body are intimately connected, that belief shapes biology, and that context, expectation, and intention are powerful tools for healing. As we look ahead, medicine is no longer only about interventions in the body, it is about collaborating with the mind. Doctors, researchers, and patients alike are beginning to understand that recovery is not just chemical, mechanical, or surgical. It is psychological, spiritual, and social. The challenge and opportunity for the future is clear: to harness the mind-body connection consciously, ethically, and effectively, making belief a tool for health, hope, and resilience. From placebo pills to mind-focused therapy, from ancient rituals to modern neurotechnology, the evidence is undeniable. Your mind is not separate from your body. It is medicine itself. The question now is not whether the placebo effect exists. The question is, how will you harness the extraordinary power of your mind to heal, grow, and thrive? So what does the placebo effect teach us? It teaches us that the body listens to the mind, that expectation shapes experience, that belief is not just psychological, it is biological. It teaches us that every thought has a consequence. Every belief has a ripple effect. Every emotion alters your internal chemistry. Modern science has finally caught up with ancient wisdom. You are not separate from your thoughts. You are shaped by them. The placebo effect is not a trick. It is a mirror showing us what the mind is capable of. When you believe in healing, your brain responds. When you expect things to improve, your nervous system shifts. When you trust your inner power, the body follows. Imagine what would happen if you used this every day. If you intentionally aligned your beliefs with your goals. If you cultivated positive expectation, self-trust, and emotional resilience. If you activated the healing intelligence already inside you. You don't need a fake pill. You don't need superstition. You don't need magic. The placebo effect reminds us the magic is already inside you. The mind and body are one. And when you learn to use them together, healing becomes possible. Thank you for watching. If you found this video mind-opening, inspiring, or helpful, make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more deep dive content. Your support helps this channel unlock more minds around the world. See you in the next video.